Hey everyone, a really warm welcome back. Well, I know we're all champing at the bit to get out and it's very nearly time. I hope you had a great Easter, at least managed to enjoy a bit of the outdoors, or perhaps the warmer weather we had in a few days beforehand. Anyway, some of us are able to go out immediately on the 12th, and some of us are going to have to wait a bit longer because of the way the school holidays fall. But for us, we had a load of jobs to get done before we can actually take this thing back out again, because it's been in hibernation for the winter. So I thought in this video I'd give a quick update and just run through those sort of jobs and tell you what we've been doing. Anyway, let's get into it. And job number one before anything else gets done is tyres. So let me just show you a quick photograph of these things and you can see why these needed doing. So this is what's called a dot mark, so this gives you a week and a year that the tyre was made, and the advice is to change caravan tyres after 5 years and certainly to run them no more than 7 years. So these were 5 years old back in sort of June time-ish, June, July time, and it looked like we might be heading into a winter of lockdown, so I didn't change them then, and because actually they'd only been running for 4 years, I thought it was probably okay for another couple of months, so I decided to keep them on for the last half of last year and leave it sat on the old ones over winter, knowing full well that I'd have to redo the tyres before we went out this summer. And having decided that, I rather painfully decided to change the spare, which was painful because it was an absolutely brand new spare. It's stored in the front locker, so it doesn't suffer from any of the UV degradation that requires us to change the other tyres. So I could have got away with it for another sort of year and a half, 2 seasons. But at some point we're hoping we might be able to go to France, and I understand, although do check out the rules for yourselves, that if you have a puncture in France, then the French authorities like you to have matching tyres on both sides of the caravan, so that means brand as well as size and all the rest of it. Now it may not be that bad, but I figured I might as well get them all done in one go than to have the hassle later on of changing and to have the wrong tyres on if we do end up managing to get to France. And not only that, but because I'm on my own with the children most of the time, then I tend to be a bit more belt and braces about things, especially when it comes to mechanical road things, to make sure we're as safe as we can be. And of course the tyres are the only thing between us and the road, keeping us nice and steady. So reshoeing it was all round. For anybody who hasn't had to order a new set of tyres before for their caravan, these are the numbers you're looking for. So the 185 is the width of the tyre itself. 14, in my case at least, yours might be 13 or 15 or possibly something even different. So 14 is the diameter of the wheel itself, 14 inches. And then C here signifies it's a commercial rated tyre, so much heavier duty than a car tyre. And then the 102-100 is the load rating, so that correlates to a table to tell you how much weight this pair of tyres can carry. And I think these ones, if I remember off the top of my head, the new ones that are going on are 850 or 900 kilograms per tyre, which is plenty enough for our 1400 MT PLM caravan. And then you've got the Q at the end, which is the speed rating. So again, you can look those up online on various tables. Anyway, the lovely Fidel sorted out the tyres. I have to admit I was hovering rather a lot because I don't know how much trailer training these guys get, and I wanted to make sure that the jack was going in the right place and all the rest of it. Anyway, Fidel was very helpful and left the caravan up on axle stands for me so that I could take the old wheels from this to this. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, you will have seen some of the progress pictures, but this is exactly the same wheel that I've rubbed down, treated with rust remover, and then primered and painted and lacquered on the top. There'll be an in-depth video coming out about that at some point in the future. Anyway, once that was done, then it was mechanics time for me. There's a bit of a saga around the motor mover, and again, if you follow me only on Twitter, I think I've talked about it, but our motor mover is absolutely useless, whereas it should be gold-plated, super-duper, fully functional, wonderful thing, as it's an Alco Mammoth that's connected to the purpose-made points on the chassis itself, so I haven't lost any clearance at all. But I think it was not installed properly, so there began a weekend of lying under the caravan trying to get this thing properly installed, and that is a bit of a saga that again will make it into another video. But enough of that for today. And then lastly, for the mechanical bits and bobs, the lovely Paul sorted out our caravan service for us. So nice having a mobile engineer come and sort it out on the drive. So a big thanks to Paul. And then we can get on with the beautification so that she looks absolutely gorgeous when she's out on the road. We have an onboard water tank, and it's here. It's 45 litres, which is great. Let's just get some light on so you can see properly. There's no proper lighting under here though, so this is a torch, but luckily it's got a magnetic bottom. So I see if I can get it to stay up somewhere in a minute to light the whole scene. But what I've just been doing for the last few minutes is scrubbing the inside of the tank, because although this was all emptied out and I did whiz a bit of PuraClean around it before the winter, clearly I didn't get everything out of the system, and it is absolutely disgusting. But we do want to much more drink the water in here, so I want to make sure it's absolutely pristine. So I'm going to give it a really good scrub on the inside, and you can see that this fill pipe actually is quite badly designed, because the water comes in from the outside. So there's an access tap on the outside, and then the water comes into this clear tube, and then rather than the clear tube being thinner than the tank that it goes into, it's actually wider, so water gets caught all around that joint under the Jubilee clip, and as you can see it goes black. So first of all I'm going to give this a really good scrub just with plain water and the sponge, the microfiber sponge I've got here. That's the last little bit of water draining out now, so I can now put the bung stopper back in, and then we can get the PuraClean filled up in the aqua roll, and then I'll pump it into this tank, and then just follow the instructions to leave it to sit for about 45 minutes or an hour, I think it is. I might leave it for its maximum amount of time just to be absolutely sure. Ooh, let's have a look. Let's see if I can get the camera looking down there. Ooh, that looks much cleaner. Still a little bit of that muck at the bottom. Might take that Jubilee clip off later. Anyway, to get this pumped into this tank, this is the setup I use. It's just like a motorhome setup. So I've got this HEOS connector, it's called, which has got a hose attachment on the end. And then I can just clip it straight into the hose itself. I've decided I'm not going to bother doing the aqua roll today. I'm going to do that separately and leave it sat. So I'm just going to fill up with the water coming in through the connector there from the tap. Let's just persuade this pump back into the bottom part of that tank to make sure we're pumping absolutely everything around later on. So what I'm doing here is filling the tank up slowly with water from the hose pipe, and rather than putting the PuraClean powder into the tank and then having to swish it around with a hand or something, I'm going to dilute it down in this pot, so it's going to make a very, very concentrated solution in this pot, and then I'll be able to gradually mix it with the tank water. That way I can be sure that absolutely all the powder is dissolved and we're at the full and correct strength of concentration for the powder to work itself. Then I can just run all the taps to get it running all the way through. Make sure it's gone right the way through the system, and then we'll leave it to sit for its regulation amount of time, and then we just rinse through a few times until the taste is gone. The sort of slab of meshy stuff that you can see there resting on the top next to the bottle brush is actually one of those Aqua Roll silver filters, and I'll just stick a little bit of footage in here of me opening the thing when it was new, so you can see what that's about, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So here's the filter itself. It arrives in this rather flash tin. It better do for 20 odd quid, however much they are these days. And this is simply a nylon mesh that's got silver impregnated through it. Now, silver is really, really good as an antibacterial agent, and you might have seen it in burns dressing perhaps, or occasionally you see it in plasters these days as well. Don't fall for any of the rubbish about eating or drinking colloidal silver. There's absolutely no science backing that up. But in terms of water filtration, then silver is a great thing to have in the system, because keeping one of these in the tank means that you stop the buildup of bacteria in the system, so you don't get that sort of slimy residue that's quite normal. So for me, that's really important, because we've got this onboard tank. It's really difficult actually to get it completely empty. And so we probably have more water sat in the system than we would otherwise do if we had, for example, an Aqua Roll or something like that. So I want to make sure the system is kept as absolutely spotless as possible, and then I don't have to worry about us drinking the water or not. Really, filter is the wrong description of it. It's just a source of silver ions that sits in the system, and so puts a few of those through the pipework itself to stop the buildup of bacteria. Now, the tap water in the UK is absolutely fine. You know, there's no problem at all drinking tap water, but there could be a problem if people don't look after their tanks properly, and so you get the buildup of bacteria from water that's not been drained properly, or if the taps haven't been left open, for example, to let air get in. So, you know, there is the potential for doing harm if you don't keep your water system clean. So that's why I'm a bit particular about ours. Anyway, I've got a brand new one of those. Each of these filters lasts one season, and so that needs to be swapped as well today. Anyway, let's get this PuraClean running through the system, and then we can make sure it's gone through all of the pipe work, and then we leave it to sit as per the instructions on the pot. So interestingly, you can smell it coming through, and actually if you touch it, feels quite slimy, so I know it's definitely come through now. That's definitely not plain water that's going through the system. So I'll give it a good run in this kitchen tap and the washroom tap, and then we'll be sure we've got enough in the pipe work and it's gone all the way through at full concentration, and then we just leave it to sit and wait. I think I'll have another cup of tea. Well, I can report that was a lovely cup of tea. Anyway, just as a quick aside, obviously in the old days people used to use Milton and that sort of things for sterilising, and I think that's fine for Aqua Rolls, but not to be used inside the caravan, because Milton does not get on well with stainless steel, and stainless steel is of course what you have inside your hot water boiler. So that's why everybody's using PuraClean these days. If you're new to caravanning, then hopefully that's a useful bit of information. Anyway, I'm now going to run the whole lot of this through the water system so we can get the tank emptied. And of course this has been sitting in the tank, so it will have sterilised the tank as well. And I did give it a bit of a swish round with that foam sponge you saw earlier, so that I could get it wiped across the top of the tank as well, so the whole of the tank surface was covered. Might have been better to hook the caravan up and tow it down the road, but it's probably not the best thing to do at the moment in case it causes any suspicion. Anyway, hopefully this will do it. And of course I've left a right old mess outside with stains along the block paving. Whoops, I am going to be in trouble, so I better hose this down as well in a minute. So the last little job here is to run the system through thoroughly. So this would usually be, I guess, 2 or 3 barrels full of water to make sure all that Puriclean is out completely. So I've got the hose pipe running, filling into the tank itself, and then that just reached the full level. So as soon as it reached full, then I turn the tap on, and I guess we'll see if I can balance hose in with taps out and see if we can get that run through the easy way rather than start stop continuously. And here it is pouring out the bottom. Hopefully that'll wash down all that nasty mess I left earlier. Oops. Okay, aquarel silver thingy in, and then we are on to the very last, I think, job. Okay, last of the once in a while maintenance jobs, and I want to keep these window rubbers in tip-top condition because they're keeping the rain out. Pointless. So I'm just using some silicone wipes to clean off and wipe around the rubber itself, and then that keeps it nicely lubricated, I guess, and fresh and clean, and just helps to protect it a little bit and keeps it nice and well sealed. So these are just simple silicone wipes. There's a link below if you want to get hold of some of these as well. And very easy to wipe on, so it's just a matter of going around all the windows and getting them cleaned up. Alright, that is it for periodic but fairly big maintenance jobs. If you're heading out on the 12th, please do remember, of course, to check your tyre pressures, to check your nuts are in good condition, and by that I mean check that they're at the correct torque settings, of course. And if you've decided to have a massive rearrangement and store stuff in different places, then please do keep an eye on your nose weight. Anyway, from me, very happy touring whenever you manage to get out, be that very soon or in a few weeks or in a few months indeed. Happy and safe touring. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do all the usual stuff, of course, thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already, because there's an awful lot of you watching this that aren't subscribed already. So do please show your support for what I'm trying to do on the channel by subscribing. And thanks so much for your company. I guess I'll catch you in the next one. So bye for now.